Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us for another Stroller Social. As you know, you can catch us Facebook Live every Wednesday at 6:30 for our Stroller Social. And of course, for June, we're really highlighting our dads and our partners that work with our dads as well, too. So tonight we have Michael Hargrove with us, and he is the founder and the CEO of DADDS, DADDS. And so, Michael, thank you so much for joining us tonight. And would you mind introducing yourself and telling us a fun fact?
Yes. So my name is Michael Hargrove. I am a husband, a father. Well, I'm still a son. My parents still. So I'm a son. I'm a brother, business owner, community servant. These are all the roles that I am, I embrace, and I cherish. And when it comes to business owner, I really pride myself and continue to build on this foundation of being in the business of fatherhood. So we'll talk a little bit about that, of course, later. But it's one of the reasons that I'm involved with fatherhood is that, and this is my fun fact, I grew up, I have 5 sisters, no brothers, a wife and a daughter, no sons. And so once my fatherhood journey started, I was like, man, I need some help. Listen, I need some help. So that fun fact kind of ties into where I am today, because even though I had all these sisters, a wife and a daughter, I still had no clue what to do with this little girl. So it really opened my eyes to see, like, man, it's totally different when you're a parent. So that's my fun fact, and who I am in the roles that I so love to play, if you would, and embrace.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And to be surrounded by all women, one, congratulations, and two,
Yes.
I don't know how you do it, right? Because we all know sometimes we can be a bit much. So
you have any
thank
tips?
you.
We can talk offline after the show.
Right?
Yes, ma'am.
No, that's awesome. I love that. I love that you've been surrounded by women, and you needed some dad friends, right? You needed the dad friends to kind of help you and keep you moving and keep you sane.
Yes, thank you. I didn't want to say it out loud. I'll let someone else say that for me. But yes.
I'll say it for you. No worries.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah, so we actually have a few questions for you tonight. And our first question that we have for you is, what does DADDS, the DADDS, actually stand for?
Yes. So I am a little bit smarter than a 5th grader. So I promise you, I did not spell it wrong. I do know how to spell regular dads. But the DADDS, it's an acronym. So as Sarah indicated, it's DADDS as an acronym. Okay. So what does DADDS stand for? DADDS stands for Dads Actualizing Divine Destinies Simultaneously. You're like, what are you talking about? So I had to make, as a guy, I got to keep it simple. Like, how can I keep this simple? So dads, the first part is self-explanatory. It's anyone who has made a choice to be a dad, not necessarily one who was birthed, but anyone who has made a choice to be a father, right? It could be a father figure. It could be a brother that steps, whatever it is. And then actualizing. Actualizing is simply, in the simple terms, actualizing or bringing forth. All right. So you're a father who is bringing forth, and then divine. Now, I'm a Christian. We are not by legal status. I use this term. We're faith-based by walk, but not by legal entity status. So we are, a social enterprise. But I'm a Christian, and so that was just kind of part of, I would call it the download that I got for dads. And so divine, and again, depending on where you are spiritually, but divine is just, it's about your greater purpose, So if I'm a dad and I'm trying to bring forth the next stage, that divine is greater purpose. So remember, it's dads actualizing divine destinies simultaneously. Your destiny is kind of the culmination of what you're supposed to be when you grow up, right? It's your purpose. It could be your passion. Your destiny could encompass like your skills or your gifts. So, when you're a dad, you start off like, oh my gosh, I got this little kid. I don't know what the heck to do. So now I'm thinking I got to bring forth a greater purpose, right? A greater mission. And then simultaneously, I have to do this in conjunction with my co-parent, whether it's my wife or someone that I was in a relationship with, because I would never be a dad had it not been for a mom. As a dad, I have to bring forth my greater purpose with a village. So dads actualizing divine destinies simultaneously. See why I had to make it
Well,
so short?
why did you start DADDS? What is kind of that background of why you really wanted to start this? And I think some of it we kind of got from when you shared with us that you had 5 sisters, a wife, and a daughter, right? So I think part of it all came from that. But what else? What are those main reasons behind starting DADDS?
Growing up, I was in a single parent household initially. Didn't really establish, I would call a consistent or solid relationship with my father until I was about 15. I had a stepfather in the home. We weren't really close. It was just butt heads. I wasn't purposely disrespectful or anything, but it's just different life philosophies. And then I have my 4 sisters, and so as a result, growing up, I had a lot of challenges. And so that was the start of my fatherhood journey as a son. I tell guys, your fatherhood journey started when you were a son. So if you had a negatively impactful father start to your life as a son, that's going to spill over into if you have a child someday. So I had some negative experiences to say the least. And so moving forward, I'm 26. I found out that I am having a daughter. Uh, the relationship was strained at that point, and so now we're 2 people who are literally apart, trying to figure out how do we co-parent. Again, different philosophies, just and so again, kind of going into my evolution of my fatherhood journey, it's like, oh man, even though I have a little girl and I've had sisters and things of that nature, I had no clue. As the only male, a lot of times I was in my room isolated. So I've realized, like, as much as I was around, I didn't learn very much and I didn't understand a lot when it comes to women. A little bit better than the average for sure. But I never learned how to braid hair because I had enough sisters around who would do all that for themselves. And then even when my daughter was born, thank you, that was one of the things that they would do for me. So the reason that I started is because, one, I was a single father at the time. And as an African American male, unfortunately, there's certain stereotypes in our community, um, within our community and outside of our community. And I didn't want my daughter to be any of those stereotypes. She didn't choose me as a dad and my particular circumstances that I grew up in. She didn't choose her mom in those particular circumstances. But one of the things I wanted to vow is that I didn't want her to be a stereotype. And I'll also, greater than that, to not want her to be, because stereotype is, again, that's opinions of others, but statistics are real. I didn't want her to be a statistic, and you look at any statistics, it doesn't matter, race, color, creed, socioeconomic status. When dad isn't there, the statistics for those children are not very good at all. Infant mortality, the lack of involvement of a male counterpart has a significant impact. So the reason that I started again, I didn't want her to have to suffer for mistakes. I chose bad. Sometimes you got to choose the mate that you're supposed to. So if you chose wrong, that these can be some outcomes. So I didn't want her to pay for mistakes that I made, and I didn't want her to be a stereotype or statistic.
So the next question, I think, kind of goes a little bit along with some of the things that you had mentioned before, but if you could tell us a little bit more about what is it like to be a part of the DADDS program, right? So for a father, what could he expect?
Absolutely. So DADDS as an organization, our goal is not to be the Walmart of fatherhood. What I mean by that is you can't come to DADDS and get everything. Now, if we had the budget of Walmart, I would love to buy a big facility somewhere in Easton. It would be really cool. Hint, hint, if anybody's selling them for cheap, let me know. But, you know, to be a place that dads can go. But our goal is, again, kind of going back to our roots, is being that first and foremost information broker. We have an audience with men. I mean, we're constantly building it every day. At some point, referrals, it's always being built. So we have a database. But what we realize is that there's 5 key areas that fathers need, we believe, and we call them parenting pillars, to create the best possible parenting environment. So the first is men's health. So if you look at what can you expect, or what programs or resources. So first is in the area of men's health. Now, I'm not a doctor, um, and we don't have a medical facility. However, we know that is the number one priority when it comes to parenting. And so if a father comes into us through multiple ways, the first thing that we talk about is your mental health and mental emotional health, and your physical health, because you could not need a job, not need housing, but you're 40 and you haven't been to the doctor in 6 years. And you come to us at one of these other pillars, we call them, I'll mention. So that's a priority. So with that, you come into us, that will be one of the referrals that we'll make and say, hey, we've got primary care physicians. We have, say you want to learn about early childhood development, we have CelebrateOne, because infant mortality is also a medical issue. It's something that medically happens that, God forbid, causes this, right? So as a resource in the areas of health, we say, hey, here's our connectors. We connect with the African American Male Wellness Agency, Columbus Public Health. We look at CelebrateOne as one of those health partners. So that's the first pillar. The next is what's called family unity. Now, family unity involves mediation, family counseling, and then activities that help promote bonds. So the first I'll talk about is mediation. Being an unmarried parent, one of the things that I utilize, or tools I utilize, was mediation. I could not have, I believe, an effective co-parenting conversation. And so sometimes it took that objective third party to come in. Also with counseling, there's a lot of trauma that could happen over a lifetime, but you have children that have everyday needs. So how do I process a lifetime of trauma or early childhood trauma when I've got to be focused and ready for a child that needs to eat today? So we are a huge advocate of individual counseling and family counseling. The third component is DADDS works. It's really straight. Either job resources that you need, or not everybody is, just going to be an employee. They're a small business owner. And so again, being that information broker for you, coming in and saying, okay, hey, I need to expand I'm underemployed, or I'm looking to change careers, or I'm a small business owner, how do I start my LLC? So having those resources with getting you connected, small business development center, things of that nature. Now, just wanted to quickly interject here, is the reason that we're effective is that a lot of times, and you've seen sometimes in relationships, is that men aren't as proactive about reaching out for those resources. It's kind of like, I'll figure it out on my own. It didn't work, but that's what we say. That's what I've said. That's what I try to prevent myself from ever saying. So what makes us effective is that guys gravitate us because of the fatherhood community we have. But knowing sometimes the deficiencies we have as fathers, being that information broker is highly critical, because they're warm. We got the warm and fuzzies with them. We got the bond. Now we just are connecting them with resources such as yourself. So I just wanted to kind of quickly interject that. Now, the fourth is something that's near and dear to my heart. I have a financial service background. So the direct service that we have is in the area of financial services. So we prepare taxes, do tax strategy planning, credit consulting, and insurance consulting. So that's where, I forgot I'm married, Dad's Financial Legacy Group comes into play. And that gives us an opportunity to, again, provide that direct resource. And, after you've have some type of job or business and making money, then we really hone in and say, hey, we first educate you on how money works, and then how to make it work for yourself. And then our last pillar is the legal foundation. So that's really as simple as estate planning, wills, estates, trusts. You don't have to have $1 billion to start a trust for your child. You can, the same as opening up a business in the state of Ohio, it would cost anywhere from $99 to $125. File something with the Secretary of State. So you have an entity form, get a business account. You can set up a trust fund with $5. But without going into all of that for the average person, it's like, hey, these are the things that you can have in place no matter what stage of fatherhood you are in. And the other component with the legal is parental rights. We are not an advocate of any type of custody battles at all. However, it is critical that fathers establish their parental rights to as much as they can when it comes to being able to effectively co-parent. So that's why we have your health first. You have to unify your family so that you can all be on the same page and, and create your vision. And then let's figure out a way to generate revenue. It could be job or business. And then once we generate this revenue, let's learn how to make it work for us, right? I don't want to have to work 100 hours just to provide for my children. But if I can learn how to make money work, hey, I can work the 40, invest right, and I can spend the time that I want. Real simple. And then the fifth is legal. If you're unmarried, get your rights established. And everybody needs some type of estate, will, estate, trust planning. So those are the programs. And for being an information broker and connector, and from a direct service standpoint, the financial services. And within those 5 realms, sponsoring classes, educational classes, how do you change a diaper? How do you braid a hair? All of those are kind of mixed in to try to help you create the best possible parenting environment.
I really have enjoyed listening to you about all the program, everything that you put into this program for the dads, and how you have kind of really just said, like, you are family oriented. You just have a focus on dads, and that is awesome. So how might a dad actually sign up or join into this program?
Absolutely. So with Father's Day, that's kind of like our Super Bowl weekend, right? We really are launching our robust membership platform. So they can follow us on all social media, also our website.
Awesome. Well, thank you. And we will make sure that all this information gets put into the comment box as well, too, so that anybody that comes back to look at the video, you're able to see all of that as well, too. So thank you so much for sharing that and sharing all this information. And before I get you out of here, I got one more question for you. And
Certainly.
of course, it has to go along with, Father's Day,
Woo-hoo!
right? So what advice do you have for a new father who may either be having their first child or bringing home a newborn, right? So what advice do you have for them on how they can not only support the baby, but maybe even support mom as well, too?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll start with the mom, because that's really your most important. Look at this, fathers, as this. Mom, the mom, mother of your child, is the most important resource in your child's life. So it's like, I like cars, right? Some guys like cars. You can have a Lamborghini, but if you don't have gas, it's not going anywhere. So look at mom as the fuel. You may have all these, like, hey, I got the tools, I got all these things, I got my engine, I got my design is cool, but that car doesn't go unless it has gas. Mom is the fuel or the catalyst to creating the best possible parenting environment for that child. Now, some guys like, man, I don't have that relationship. Hey, it doesn't change the facts. So because of that, the greatest thing that you can do for your child is to have love for and respect for your co-parent. And it's difficult sometimes, especially if you, like, I'm not only a client, I'm the president. But I do realize that love at least allows me to have a genuine sense of care for this person, right? Real simple. You don't have to agree with them. They don't have to like you, but love is a choice. So you can say, you know what? I love them enough to make sure, hey, I really do genuinely hope nothing ever happens to her, knowing that she's the catalyst too, right? So, and then respect. Again, sometimes just be careful. You can only account for your actions, and try never to disrespect them, especially in front of the children. So it starts with mom. And the other thing with mom, and this ties into with children, acknowledge and affirmation. Two of the most critical components of any relationship. Acknowledge. You have a beautiful baby. How does she want acknowledgement? She's pulling on you, say, mommy, see this, I'm doing this, right? They want to be acknowledged. Like, I see you. I hear you. Same with your co-parent, expressing concerns, like, okay, I hear you. Then going one out the other, I hear you. And then affirmation. I actually care about and interested in what you've just acknowledged to me. Real simple. It's difficult to do, but the process is simple. And when it comes to your children, the same thing, as I just gave the analogy. Kids want to be acknowledged. They just want to, daddy, see me, love me. I'm here, attention. And then to know that there's some love behind that, you have the most amazing relationship with both the mom and the children. And then other than that, kids are pretty easy. All they do is eat, poop, and sleep. So just get your naps in between when they're young. And then when they get older, they're going to reject you anyway. They're not going to let you kiss in public. I'm just letting you know it's a journey. But in spite of what stages you are in, always know that even if they seem to ignore you when they're teenagers, they still want to know that you see them ignoring you. You're like, what? Yes. They acknowledge the fact that they are ignoring you and let them know, I know you're ignoring me. I acknowledge that. But then affirm, like, even if you ignore me because I don't have an iPhone and I'm not cool, I still love you. I'm sorry, Sarah. Are you judging me right now? I feel we good? We're
No,
good. I see you laughing at me.
no judging. I'm
Am
laughing
I one
because,
of those goofy dads that
no, I love it. I love it. No, I'm
I don't,
laughing
it
because
wasn't.
you are on point. You're
Okay,
on
got you.
point. That's why I'm laughing.
No, I'm messing with
No,
you.
that was perfect. Well,
Yes.
thank you, Michael, so much for joining us tonight. This was awesome. I'm so excited that we got to learn about DADDS in the program and just how it got started and everything that you guys do to really help support dad and family in general. So thank you so much. And I just want to let all of our listeners know that if you would like to get connected to CelebrateOne, you can call or text us at 614-570-3592. Again, you can call or text us at 614-570-3592, and we will see you all next Wednesday.